Olá pessoal, eu sou Luciana Prakash do Yoga para Você. Estou aqui hoje em Yogaville. A gente está participando de uma conferência de Yoga Integral. E hoje eu estou aqui com o reverendo Sam Rudra Swartz. Ele é professor de Integral Yoga, professor do Accessible Yoga, um projeto muito bacana que começou aqui nos Estados Unidos. E é também minister do Integral Yoga. Rudra, what is yoga for you?
Wow, that's a big question. I think when I started out, yoga for me was really about healing my body. I thought it was about healing my body. I thought it was about learning to quiet my mind, but I didn't really understand what all that meant. And then as I started studying the scriptures like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali and really developed a meditation practice, everything I thought it was a lot different. But not so much like different. It was just different than I thought it would be, like sort of the outcome or what would happen. But the more I practiced, the more I got to know who I was. Whereas I used to think it was going to change me. Really, it just made me like me more. So for me, it started out as this transformation that I was looking for through the physical body. Knew was going to help focus my mind, but didn't really understand what focusing my mind meant. So what started to really happen was a development of an awareness of what goes on in my mind, how I think of myself, how I see others. And then, because there was this awareness developing, I started to then compare with the study of what the scriptures were and realized there was a whole other practical level that I wasn't seeing before. I was looking for this more spiritual something to happen.
Yeah.
And the more I was practicing, I realized things are happening, but not the way I thought they were going to happen.
Yeah.
So for me, really, yoga became much more of a practical application and a tool. And there was a lot of healing, but not necessarily like the fixing of my body that I thought it was going to be. There were obviously shifts and changes and some transformation, but it really became this daily tool that I realized, okay, there's no end to this daily tool. It has to just be a part of my life. And it's like when I am not practicing, I notice the difference. And when I am practicing, I'm really getting, benefits, none that I could actually plan or hope for. It was more like, it was very gradual and slow, and I had to really kind of get patient with that as well. So yoga for me has really been like a daily practice of this practical application, as well as becoming more aware of the possibilities that were very different than what I thought they were before.
I get it. What were the major changes, and how did yoga help you face the challenges in your life?
Wow. I guess, as I mentioned, this awareness develops. And so once I was aware that I had like negative messages in my mind about myself that I didn't even know, then this kind of dialogue in my mind was like, that's probably not a good thing to think about yourself. Like if all of a sudden you're paying attention to what's going on upstairs, for me, I literally started to hear, I don't like you. And I was talking to myself. So the first thing with that awareness is like, well, that doesn't seem healthy. So what don't I like? And then I realized to have some sort of transformation or to change that, it was like this constant questioning. Right? Well, what don't you like? Well, what's so bad? Or what's going on that's not what you want? And what do you want? Like, let's really hear what's going on in my mind. And because you have this daily practice now, you can hear it and you can listen to what you do want. And then you realize that some of the stuff you want, you don't even know is there. So one of the amazing benefits that happened for me with yoga is I never planned to be a yoga teacher. I never really planned to be a minister. Some of those things sounded good, but a lot of other things sounded good too. You know, I went to college for music.
Oh.
So in my mind, yeah, I wanted to be a musician, and it looked a certain way. You know, and then I got a few acting jobs and acting opportunities after college. Oh, well, this is what I want to do. And then, you know, yes, Hollywood, you know, like be famous, you know. And then, you know, yoga teacher, you know, all these different things sounded good. And then the mind wants to say, okay, so if that's going to do that, then this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. None of that happened. Nothing in my mind that said I was going to do this is going to happen. You know, and also, if thinking, oh yeah, being a yoga teacher sounds good, well, that was before I needed to use the wheelchair. I have this joint condition in my joints. So then to see myself become a yoga teacher in a wheelchair, you know, teaching people who don't need wheelchairs, people, you know, perfectly able bodies, as well as then being able to share my practice with people who are in a wheelchair or have accessible needs. I couldn't have planned any of that. So one of the real benefits of yoga was really accepting that I have this mind that likes to say, oh, I want to do this, 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 I want to do this. But when I started listening to it, I could sort of filter out what wasn't practical, you know, and also then just wait and be more patient for what's going to more naturally come. And as it just came naturally, there were so many surprises that I can enjoy that so much more. And I can enjoy it more because it wasn't like part of any kind of plan. It was like it started to come as little gifts. And even seeing this condition that made me less physically able, to be able to see it as like not something bad that was happening. Although at the beginning I was very angry and you know sad about it. Now it's like, wow, this is one of the greatest gifts of my life, because now I'm sharing yoga and this process of becoming aware what's going on in my mind and how to calm my mind and have all these tools and then have this practice that helps me and then to be able to share that. So that was like the real the biggest benefit is like being surprised by life more and enjoying it more and not ever being able to know that that was going to happen or plan. Of course, if I'm learning that, you know, I couldn't plan anything, then I'm not planning that either. That was a real, like I said, you know, it's like these surprise gifts, you know, life becomes more of a surprise party, you know, because then you can enjoy it more. And again, it's all from having that regular practice and just becoming aware that it's not about what I think it is. Enjoy what it actually is.
I was here last year during kids camp that you ran, and for the final satsang, I was impressed. I remember crying just by watching you interacting with the kids, and I was amazed by how natural it felt for you being there. It was very inspirational to me. And then after that, I saw some of your accessible yoga videos, amazing work, unbelievable. I mean, really, really inspiring. And what could you tell people out there? What advice could you give to people out there, especially those wanting to practice yoga or to go into this beautiful field of yoga, but they don't really fit? Because I think that as well as in Brazil, here in the States, you have kind of a yoga stereotype.
Right.
The thin, flexible body, and I am trying hard to fight that because I really believe that yoga is for everybody.
Absolutely. Everybody and every body.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's what we say in the accessible yoga movement a lot. It's for every body.
Yes. What advice could you give to those?
First of all, thank you for what you said about camp. And just to give you another example of how life surprised me, getting to my age, which is 45 now, and not being married and not having children of my own, that was also a cause for concern. but it's like 2 weeks a year. I spend 1 week with 30 children, then another week with 30 more children. And you get to really be a part of their lives all day long for 1 week. And so that's very special. So thank you for acknowledging that. The second thing I would say first to yoga teachers,
Yeah.
talk to everybody. Be prepared for every body and every mind that's going to give you their first excuse. I can't because I'm not flexible. I could never do that because I could never meditate because I can't get my mind quiet.
Yeah.
Make sure these people know that nobody can get their mind quiet. I think there are a lot of myths that are put out there, right? That you can just, if you practice, your mind is going to get quiet and your life is going to get great. You become more aware of it and you can work with it. The Yoga Sutra says we have this tendency for a restless mind. And also for me, I'm not too assertive about going out there. But when I talk to people and they have questions, I answer the question and make sure when people say something like, I'm not flexible, you don't have to be. You don't have to fold your body to where your fingers are in between your toes and your head is resting on your legs. For some people like that I work with in wheelchairs, coming forward this much, they're getting benefits from a forward bend. So for yoga teachers, I think it's very important to know you have to be very welcoming, friendly. You have to have the door open for everybody and be aware. Because even if somebody shows a little bit of curiosity, if you could get just a little bit in the door, that's big. And then for everybody else, yoga really is for everybody. Yoga really is for everybody. There are benefits for practicing 5 minutes a day. There are benefits if you practice 6 hours a day. And you can't have any real goals or expectations from it. Just introduce some little bit of practice. And it doesn't matter even if you're stuck in a bed, you could do a little bit of practice where there's going to be some benefit. And don't worry about what that benefit is or what you're looking for. Just have a little bit of practice and be very curious as to what you can do and what that benefit is, and don't have any timetable. Like for me, at one point I thought to myself, I'm going to meditate until I can walk without a wheelchair again. That's not going to work. I can meditate for meditating. And I can watch my mind and see when my mind is going here and there. And I can practice yoga, and sometimes I can go a little farther forward, and sometimes I can go farther back, and sometimes I'm comfortable laying on the floor with my legs up the wall, and sometimes I'm not. And for me, the biggest challenge was accepting what I couldn't do. Because I always wanted to do more and thought I had to do more. So realistic expectations and knowing you don't have to do anything, but if you're able to do something, it's better than nothing at all.
Good.
And let it fit into your life. If you're super busy, fine. You don't, like I said, I did a workshop recently for people who work with victims of child abuse. And so they're in a traumatic field. So they're having personal trauma, helping people who are having trauma as well. And I encourage them, you can take 5 minutes at your desk when things are stressful, close your eyes and focus on your breath. Little practices. Find those little things to fit in your life. And if you have a chance to go to a yoga class, go to yoga class. If you have a chance to meditate for 5 minutes before work or after work, start with something and let that grow rather than be like, oh, I don't have an hour and a half every day to do this thing or go down to the yoga studio. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You can take a class at some point and use any of those practices little by little to keep yourself focused and centered, your mind a little quieter, and mostly, the most important thing is just more aware of what's going on. And if you get aware of what's going on, you have a better chance of molding your happiness to go like, is this true? Does this have to happen? Because you're facing it. And you can take it little by little to iron it out in a way that makes sense for you.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Obrigado.
De nada. And I hope to see you one day in Brazil. It's an invitation.
I will be there like that.
Promise?
I'd love to come.
Okay.
That's one country I'd love to come.
All right.
Visit and see.
I will.
What a beautiful country. And I mean, I have so many friends from there. It'd be a dream come true.
I'll make sure it happens. Muito obrigada, gente. Uma ótima prática de yoga para você.